If you just bought a used car and it has this $8 part hiding under the hood, congratulations. You might have also bought a ticking time bomb that's about to light $3,000 on fire. And the best part? The dealer who sold it to you already knew. They always know. I'm not here to ruin your day, but somebody has to say this out loud because dealerships won't and manufacturers definitely won't. There's a tiny, cheap little component in certain cars that costs less than a large pizza. And when it fails, it doesn't just wear out. It takes an entire system down with it. We're talking engines overheating, transmissions destroying themselves, repair bills so bad they make you rethink every life choice that led you to that specific car lot on that specific Saturday afternoon. Now, before you panic and sprint outside to check your driveway, let me explain what this part actually does, why it fails, and this is the important part. Which cars are sitting out there right now just waiting for the perfect moment to financially ambush their owners? Yes, there's a list. And if your car's on it, you might want to sit down. The part I'm talking about is usually something painfully boring. A plastic coolant fitting, a cheap rubber gasket, a flimsy little seal or connector sitting right in the path of your engine's most critical fluids. Coolant, oil, transmission fluid. Different cars, same stupid problem. This part's entire job is to keep hot fluid exactly where it's supposed to be. And when it cracks, warps, or just decides it's done with life, that fluid goes everywhere except where it needs to go. And here's the fun part. The part itself costs $8, maybe $12 if you splurge. You could replace it in your driveway with basic tools and a 10-minute YouTube video. But manufacturers never tell you this part fails catastrophically. It doesn't leak politely. It doesn't give you a warning. It doesn't ease into retirement. One minute you're driving to work. The next minute, your dashboard lights up like a Christmas tree. The temperature gauge spikes. The car goes into limp mode. You smell coolant. Steam starts rolling out from under the hood. And by the time you realize what's happening, the damage is already done. Now, here's the obvious question. Why don't they just make this part out of metal? Because that would cost them maybe $4 extra per vehicle. And when you're building millions of cars, that hurts profits. You know what doesn't hurt profits? Repair bills that show up 3 years after the warranty expires. And guess when this part usually fails? Exactly. So let's talk about the worst offenders, because this isn't rare. This is an epidemic hiding in plain sight. First up, certain Chevy Cruzes, especially the turbo models from the early to mid-2010s. There's a plastic coolant outlet sitting right on top of the engine. Looks harmless, costs about $8. But when it cracks, and it will crack, coolant dumps straight onto the engine. Best case scenario, you notice immediately, shut the car off, and you're out a tow bill in a few $100s. Worst case, you keep driving because the gauge hasn't fully pegged yet. The head warps. Now you're looking at $2,000 to $4,000, all because of a part cheaper than a fast food combo. Next, Nissan. And yes, you already know where this is going. Certain Altimas and Rogues with CVT transmissions use cheap O-rings and seals in the transmission cooler. When those seals fail, coolant and transmission fluid mix together. Mechanics call it the strawberry milkshake of death. That's not a joke, that's the actual nickname. Your transmission fluid turns pink, the car starts slipping, and congratulations, you need a new CVT. $4,000 if you're lucky, $6,000 if you're not. And the parts that caused it? Under $10. Now let's talk Ford, specifically certain escapes and fusions with EcoBoost engines. There's a gasket that fails and lets coolant leak directly into the cylinders. Ford knew about it. There were lawsuits, there were extended warranties. But if you're outside that window, you're paying.
Coolant in the cylinders means misfires, rough starts, engine damage. Best case, a major teardown. Worst case, engine replacement. $3,000 and up. Because a gasket that costs about the same as a burrito gave up early. Now, here's where people get mad. BMW. Certain models with turbo engines use plastic coolant hoses and expansion tanks that become brittle with heat cycles. And when they fail, they don't crack politely. They explode. If it happens at highway speed, the engine overheats so fast you might not even have time to safely pull over. Engine replacement on a BMW, let's just say it makes the $3,000 repairs we've been talking about feel cute. And the parts that failed, $40, $60, plastic, used because it's lighter, cheaper, and looks great on a spreadsheet. Now, Volkswagen and Audi, this one is almost impressive in how destructive it is. There's a small seal involved in the timing chain system on certain engines. When it fails, oil pressure drops in critical areas. The timing chain tensioner loses pressure. The chain jumps. Valves meet pistons. The engine becomes a very expensive paperweight. Repair cost? $3,000 to $6,000, depending on how bad the internal damage is. Cost of the seal? About $7. Now, saving the absolute worst for last. Certain Jeep and Chrysler vehicles with the Pentastar V6. There's a rocker arm issue tied to oiling problems, often caused by failing oil cooler seals or gaskets. When those seals go, oil pressure drops in critical areas. The rocker arm fails. That rocker arm can punch through the cylinder head. Now you're not fixing a part, you're replacing a head, maybe the whole engine. $4,000 minimum. And yes, it all traces back to a gasket that costs less than a movie ticket.
These failures are documented. Mechanics see them constantly, but nobody warns you when you're standing there with a pen in your hand. So, how do you avoid becoming another statistic? First, demand real service records, not oil changes, proof that known failure points were addressed. Second, get a pre-purchase inspection from an independent mechanic who knows that brand's weak spots, not the dealer's guy, not your buddy. Third, and this is the big one, if you already own one of these cars and haven't had the failure yet, replace the cheap part now. It feels dumb replacing something that isn't broken. You know what feels worse? Writing a $4,000 check because you wanted to gamble. These aren't bad cars by default. Some of them are great until they hit their weak point. And that weak point will fail eventually. Manufacturers aren't fixing it. Dealers aren't warning you. So the only option left is being smarter than the system designed to drain your wallet. If one of these cars got you, drop a comment and say which one and how much it cost. Real stories help more people than any sales pitch ever will. And if someone you know is shopping for a used car right now, send them this before they learn the hard way. This is the stuff mechanics talk about in the back room. This is what rolls into shops every single week. Now you know it too.